originally amorous. The so-called, "I will love only you for my entire life," is a lie and a scam which exists for short times under certain circumstances, but when those circumstances change slightly, the fox's tail will be exposed. The man who says that when he is poor and helpless is telling the truth, but if says the same thing after his social and economic status improve dramatically, then he is lying and deceiving. The same is true for women. It is impossible to love only you for my entire life, because human hearts are amorous. If a bright and eye-catching flower blooms only for Zhang San, but it wilts immediately when seeing Li Si, Wang Wu, and Zhao Lu, then I want to ask you if it is still a flower? No, it is not, but rather a monster's spirit. Are people still human if they smile when they see a certain other person, but immediately cross their eyebrows when they see other people? No, they are not humans but evildoers. What men are indifferent to beautiful women? What women are unimpressed by handsome men? If there are such people, then they are not really people, but wood or stone, sculptural robots. Since this world has always been perplexed and deceived by falsities, we cannot know what the truth is. We have already mixed the false with the genuine, so we cannot know that amorous hearts are the truest ones. That is to say that anyone who truly loves you must also love the world, because anyone who does not love the world will never love any individual. To narrow the scope, women who love many men and men who love many women will give birth to true love, because their hearts are true and the love of which they speak is true. There are absolutely no marriages or families in heaven. How do we arrange our lives without them? I can tell you that I have found a way to live a better life than married and in a family. Not only have I found it, but I have also opened it up. We are all expected to live paradisical lives on earth, and not only that, but also have a chance to go to the real paradise. I have designed a game of being a groom every day and a bride every night for everyone. The game will be launched soon. If you participate in it, then you will definitely find that amorous hearts are the truest hearts. 意识决定存在. Consciousness determines existence. Xiefeng. Translated by Qinyu, edited by Peter. Whether existence determines consciousness or consciousness determines existence is a type of watershed between materialism and idealism. Human beings have not yet had a correct understanding of this issue until now. Jumping to a conclusion rashly will definitely cause confusion in people's minds. If we divide the population into 5 categories: ignorant people, laities, mortals, sages, and saints, immortals, and then according to the attitudes of people of each level towards the material world, we can clearly understand the reason why some people believe that existence determines consciousness, while others are convinced that consciousness determines existence. Ignorant people live by instinct. Although they belong to the family of human beings, they are not much different from animals. They don't know what creation and thinking are. As long as things are necessary for their survival, they will just grab them. If they are put on a deserted island, they will only die. So, for ignorant people, existence determines everything. Without existence, there is nothing. Laities are people who live by their desires. The central content of their lives is money, status, power, reputation, and beauty. They live for these desires all their lives. Once they don't get the above, they will suffer terribly. For laities, existence determines their consciousness, and their daily activities have a clear purpose and goal, which is how to obtain existence. Without the seduction of factors such as money, laities cannot live a single day. Mortals live by affection. The core content of their lives is family affection, relatives and friends, colleagues and classmates, group and clan, country and nation. With these, they can live a flavorful life. Without these, they will feel alone, bored, empty, and lonely. Therefore, for mortals, it is still existence that determines consciousness, and without existence, their consciousness will collapse. Sages are people who live by reason. They are people who often ask why, people who want to understand the essence behind superficial phenomena, existence. Existence is the basis of sages' consciousness. Without this basis, they cannot think deeply. People such as scientists in various fields, philosophers, and thinkers all belong to the category of sages. Although existence is the basis of the consciousness of sages, they also pay more attention to the reaction of consciousness to existence. Therefore, for sages, existence and consciousness are equally important. Because they devote more time and energy to the field of consciousness than on the basis of existence, sages tend to become the best among human beings. Saints, immortals, are people who rely on spirituality. What is perceived through sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch is not important to them. What is important is what is realized through their spiritual sense. Spiritual perception is purely an activity of consciousness. So, for immortals, it is consciousness that determines existence. To sum it up, for ignorant people, laities, and mortals, existence determines consciousness. If you tell them, consciousness determines existence, it is like casting pearls before swine. They might even give you a back kick. For sages, existence is equivalent to consciousness. There is no question of who decides what. For immortals, consciousness determines existence. If we tell immortals that existence determines consciousness, they can only think that we are ignorant. Then, does existence determine consciousness, or does consciousness determine existence? First, let's take a look at all the things created by human beings. Like cars, how did cars appear on Earth? There are no cars on the Earth, so how could cars appear out of thin air? What? It turns out that people first imagined it in their consciousness, and then created it according to the imagination in their consciousness. How did the first house appear on the Earth? What? It is also people who first imagined a house structure, and then recreated it according to the imagined structure. How did fashion become popular? What? It turns out that fashion designers first realized it in their brains, and then made it to guide the trend. It can be deduced from this that all things created by human beings are firstly imagined in human consciousness, and then created according to their imaginations. If people had no imagination, that is, no thinking and no consciousness, then all the artificial objects that we use today would not have appeared. This clearly proves that consciousness determines existence. Without human consciousness, how can there be so many artificial things on the Earth? Let's look at the dwelling places of human beings and the natural environment. When we enter someone's home, someone who loves to be clean and tidy, we see that the tables, chairs, and beds are arranged in an orderly manner. Whether it is the pictures on the wall or the flowers cultivated on the windowsill, they all give people the feeling of being natural, harmonious, beautiful, and suitable. Why is this happening? Oh, it turns out that the owner of this house has a clear spatial layout in her consciousness. The orderly existence of everything in her house was first imagined in her consciousness. If her consciousness is chaotic, she may put the coffee table on the table, and she can't think of planting a few pots of flowers and placing them on the windowsill. Over the past 10 years, I have observed the residences of many people in Zimbabwe. Generally, the living environment of Caucasians is clean, tidy, and orderly. Their lawns are always neatly mowed. Their flowers are always beautiful, and plants are always verdant and green. Even their washrooms, toilets, are full of flowers, and you will never spot oil stains in their kitchens. Looking at the environment of our Chinese people, weeds are overgrown in the courtyard. Dog excrement is everywhere. The washroom smells bad. Cockroaches are rampant in the kitchen, and the stove is greasy. Why is there such a big difference? Aren't they all human? It turns out that the difference lies not in existence, but in consciousness. Chinese and Caucasians have different consciousness of the environment. The quality of the living environment depends on the consciousness of the people in this environment. If there is a good consciousness, there will be a good environment. Without a good consciousness, of course it is impossible to have a good environment for existence. My child once used his vacation to drive to Washington and New York by himself. I asked him on the phone, "What is your biggest impression after seeing New York?" Unexpectedly, he replied, "New York's Chinatown is too dirty and messy. It does not match the civilization and prosperity of New York." Can it be that existence determines consciousness? If a Chinese has lived in China from beginning to end, it can be barely said that the existence of the dirty, disorderly, and bad surrounding environment leads to the dirty, disorderly, and bad living environment of his own. But after we came to a beautiful country, where the existence is beautiful, why does the environment change when we live there? Isn't it that our consciousness determines our existence? Suppose we Chinese exchange with Japanese and Germans. We all live in Japan and Germany and let Japanese and Germans live in China. Within 50 years, China will become the most beautiful and graceful country in the world, while Japan and Germany will become too dirty, disorderly, and bad countries. Consciousness determines existence, and what kind of consciousness is there, there will be that kind of existence. If everyone is belligerent, the world will be in a constant state war. If everyone loves peace, how could there be wars? Consciousness determines existence. Look at Islamic mosques, Christian churches, and Buddhist temples. Their architectural styles and shapes are quite different. Why? Because the consciousness of designers and builders is different from each other. Consciousness determines existence. When comparing the urban layouts of Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe, and Beijing, the capital of China, Harare's commercial, industrial, and residential areas are clearly separated, with a distance of at least 1 kilometer from each other, while Beijing's commercial, residential, and industrial areas are almost intertwined. The reason for the formation of this pattern of existence is that the British and the Chinese have different consciousness of people, and it is the different consciousness that determines the different urban layouts. Consciousness determines existence. When comparing the wearing and the style of dress of women during the Chinese Cultural Revolution and the wearing and style of dress of people at this present stage, from the perspective of time and space, they are definitely two different worlds. During the Cultural Revolution, women did not bother to perm, dye their hair, draw their eyebrows, and put on lipstick. Even their clothes were mostly yellow, gray, and blue. Skirts and high-heeled shoes were absolutely not allowed. About their breasts, they would find ways to press them tightly to their chest. If you budged a little, people would look at you differently, and you would be regarded as a hot, foxy spirit descending on the world, a symbol of restlessness and flirting. Look at today's women, one by one. They are more enchanting and beautiful, with all kinds of postures, styles, curvaceous beauty, sexual beauty, and temperamental beauty that is fully displayed, living out their individuality, freedom, and elegance, as if all the fairies in heaven have descended to the world. The reason why different eras have different ways of dressing is that people in different eras have different consciousness, and it is the consciousness of different eras that determines the existence of those different eras. Consciousness determines existence. Why is the population of the United States growing more slowly than that of China and India? Why do couples with higher IQs, who are richer, and with higher education levels have fewer children, while poorer, less educated couples have more children? Why can a man have several wives in some countries and regions, while most countries and regions can only be monogamous? Why could a couple in our previous generation have many children, but we can only have one child at this stage of China? Aren't all these differences determined by our human consciousness? Consciousness determines existence. Why are most of the Nobel Prize winners Americans? Why is there not a single Nobel Prize winner from mainland China? Are Americans so smart and Chinese so stupid? The main reason is that Americans and Chinese have different consciousness. If you want to eat hamburgers, you will definitely not make noodles. If you want to eat chicken, you definitely won't put pork into the pot. The reason is so simple. Do we still doubt that consciousness determines existence? Consciousness determines existence. Why do the political systems of various countries in the world differ from each other? Why does the President of the United States only serve 2 terms at most, while the presidents of some countries can serve many terms? Isn't it their existence determined by the national consciousness of various countries? How was the Earth born? How did the plants and animals on Earth appear? Isn't this determined by the consciousness of the greatest creator? Not long ago, I read a review article. Its general meaning is to criticize the only children in China at this stage for being ambitious, unrealistic, greedy for enjoyment, and for their wishful thinking. The article also mentioned a college student who had not yet graduated describing his long-term plan. I want to go to the United States and build a villa in a small city with beautiful mountains and rivers. I want to have a green lawn, a private swimming pool, and a Mercedes-Benz. The reviewer had a good-natured ridicule on this wishful thinking and hoped that such college students can face reality, be down to earth, and not be too ambitious. In my opinion, this commenter is an outstanding representative of the idea that existence determines consciousness. His thinking is still in the narrow field of material existence. He only sees today, values reality, and he cannot imagine that the future of mankind is determined by the consciousness of mankind, that the future of each individual is determined by the consciousness of the individual. This kind of person is a frog at the bottom of a well, and the blue sky he sees is just as big as a sieve. Relying on this kind of person to guide young people is not only misleading young people, but also cruelly oppressing people's spirituality and ruining their bright future. Such people, on the surface, are kind, but in essence, are evil. If I were to comment on this college student, I would say, "Son, you're absolutely right. Visualize it. Your wish will come true." The better and clearer the picture you have of your future in your mind, the more likely you are to realize it. The place you can see is where you are going. The situation you can realize in your brain is where you can go, because your behavior is controlled by your consciousness. If you want to go to the east, your feet can't move toward the west. The existence of reality is constantly changing with the consciousness of human beings. If we limit our consciousness to the existence of reality, we will always be slaves to the existence of reality, and we will never be able to create a better tomorrow. Son, the universe is boundless. There are 36-dimensional spaces, so spread the wings of your imagination and fly freely. A bright future belongs to the generation that can imagine this. Whether existence determines consciousness or consciousness determines existence, it is by no means a game of words or concepts, and it is by no means a question of whether to eat steamed buns or noodles. Whoever comes first directly determines the future of everyone. What kind of consciousness one has, he will have that kind of life. What kind of consciousness determines what kind of existence he will have. Existence determines consciousness is the thinking of animals and plants that rely on instinct to survive. Consciousness determines existence is the thinking of sages and saints, and the thinking of gods and Buddhas. If existence determines consciousness, we have only one Earth. If consciousness determines existence, we will have 36-dimensional spaces. If existence determines consciousness, we can only survive in the contradictions and pains of reality forever. If consciousness determines existence, we can transcend the existence of reality and focus on future development and changes. If existence determines consciousness, we can only passively be constrained by the environment. If consciousness determines existence, we can actively open up a sunshine avenue in the existence of reality. If existence determines consciousness, we cannot see the brilliance of the greatest creator, and we can only live to die. If consciousness determines existence, we can decipher the mysteries of the time and space of the universe, extend this limited life to the infinite wonderful time and space, and then we can die to be reborn. Existence determines consciousness is conventional thinking. Consciousness determines existence is unconventional thinking, and a bright future belongs to people with unconventional thinking. 成功是一个陷阱. Success is a trap. Xiefeng, March 24, 2021. Translation edited by Chinyo. I come from the thousand-year world, where there are no successes or failures, only enjoyers of life from beginning to end. In the thousand-year world, there are no such words or concepts as success and failure. In heaven, there is never talk of success. Everything unfolds and retracts naturally. In the plant and animal worlds, there is no talk of success. Only in the human realm is there talk of success and failure. Most of those who mess up their lives are the ones who pursue success. If you were to statistically analyze and summarize, most of those in prison are the ones who pursue success. The sea of suffering is boundless. Take a look at those in the sea of suffering. They are all lives seeking success. So, I draw a conclusion. Success is a trap. Who invented this trap? The answer is the devil. Is my conclusion correct? Everyone carefully observes human society. Who are the ones that drive people to strive for success? How do those who aspire to success end up? Are most of those who mess up their lives the ones who want success? What is success? Contending for the space of a snail's antler, or contend for a flash of light. Is that success? Did Qin Shi Huang succeed? Broken walls where foxes sleep, deserted platforms where rabbits walk, all were places of singing and dancing in those days. Yellow flowers covered with cold dew, withering grasses looming in mist, all belong to the battlefields of the old times. Who succeeded? You've earned a lot of money, but you've never had time to appreciate the moonlight. Have you succeeded? Do you call that success? I cannot see a single successful person. I only see lives crushed by success, their faces distorted and souls shattered. 反常思维漫谈 Random talk about unconventional thinking. Zuanfeng. Translated by Chinyu. Edited by Peter. Where do people come from, and where do they go to? What is the essence of life? What is the purpose of living? What is the goal of life? What is the value and the meaning of life? Is life accidental? Is death inevitable? Is there a causal relationship between life and death? Do all the phenomena in nature happen accidentally, or are they predestined? Why did Einstein doubt quantum mechanics? Does the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics indicate that the universe is disordered? How was the universe born? Is there a greatest creator in the universe? Are there gods, Buddhas, angels, and demons? How was life born? Was it created by the greatest creator? Or did it evolve from organisms over thousands of billions of years? It is stated in the Bible that all animals on the earth are intended for humans, and humans can eat their meat. And the Buddhist Shurangama Sutra clearly tells us that we must not kill animals or eat their meat. What exactly is going on? Were Adam and Eve the ancestors of all mankind? Were they also the ancestors of American Indians, Asian yellow races, African blacks, and European whites? What is destiny? Does everyone have their own trajectory of life? If so, can this trajectory of life be changed? What exactly did Lao Tzu mean by Tao in the Tao Te Ching? Can one become immortal by attaining Tao? For thousands of years, sages of all ethnic groups have been exploring the mysteries of the universe and the true meaning of life, but the answer is still far from us. In the last 100 years, due to the development of industrialization, especially the rapid advancement of transportation and the information technology, people's vision has become limited in the field of science, and the light of science has enveloped people's consciousness and thinking, prompting people to gallop freely in the physical realm of common sense, but they cannot enter the higher-level physical realm. Although New Era thinking appeared in the 50s and 60s of last century, it was only a faint glimmer of rational thinking, which could not be understood and accepted by the public. Nowadays, people are too busy with their daily activities due to the accelerated pace of life and have no time to calm down and think. Although universities around the world produce millions of college students and graduate students every year, they are basically biological robots. Their thinking is running according to scientific procedures, and few people can break through this existing way of thinking. In comparison, people today have more knowledge and materials than in the past, and they use more advanced methods to create things that humans need. They eat, wear, use, and play more and better, and are richer than in the past. People are supposed to be more leisurely, freer, and more relaxed, but the reality is that instead of feeling more relaxed and freer, people feel more exhausted and stressed. We can't help asking, is there something wrong with the way that humans have been thinking for thousands of years? Or do humans need unconventional thinking? 从莫比乌斯带谈起. Talking about the Mobius strip. Xiefeng. Translated by Chinyu. Edited by Peter. A piece of paper has two sides. If an ant is placed on the front of the paper and is not allowed to turn over the edge of the paper or bite through the paper, how can it easily and unconsciously climb from the front of the paper to the back of the paper and reach any point on the paper? From the perspective of conventional thinking, this is absolutely impossible, but someone has solved this problem. He is the German mathematician August Ferdinand Mobius. Mr. Mobius' solution is, twist one end of the paper 180 degrees and stick it to the other. At this point, the ant can freely climb from the front to the back, and from the back to the front. This is the Mobius strip. The Mobius strip is the result of unconventional thinking. What seems impossible with conventional thinking is easy with unconventional thinking. So, what is unconventional thinking? Unconventional thinking is a paradox of conventional thinking, a reverse thinking that goes against the usual way of thinking. For example, the Empress Wu Zetian ordered flowers to bloom, which was described in Flowers in the Mirror. Conventionally speaking, only winter plums will blossom on cold days, and the rest of the flowers should be sparse on dead branches, and they should be withered. But Wu Zetian went beyond the norm and ordered, all flowers must blossom overnight. Don't wait for the morning wind to push you. As a result, except for peonies, all the flowers grew overnight. At dawn, the fragrant flowers were in glorious bloom, and the Chuanfang Garden and Shanglin Garden were verdant and pleasing, full of beautiful spring scenery. What is normal to one nation is contrary to common sense and unnatural to another nation. For example, the order in which British, Americans, and Chinese write addresses is a kind of unconventional thinking, such as British and American, 38 Cosbill Street, Columbia District, New York City, United States. China, United States, New York City, Columbia District, Cosbill Street, number 38. For another example, when people die, their loved ones will cry to express their sorrow and sadness, but some nations use laughter to express sorrow. At funerals, some ethnic groups consider it respectful to wear white clothes, while others consider it respectful to wear black clothes. The secular view holds that one is born to pursue enjoyment, while most religions, especially Buddhism, believe that one is born to suffer. Traditional science believes that space and time are absolute. Space is like a box, matter is a particle in this box, and time passes evenly. Modern science believes that space-time depends on the distribution of matter itself, and space-time is curved. Common sense believes that chicken feathers can fly in the sky, but iron blocks cannot fly in the sky, but today's reality shows that iron blocks, weighing tens of tons, can also fly in the sky. It was previously thought that any number could be represented by the ratio of two integers, but later it was discovered that some numbers, such as irrational numbers, could not be represented by the ratio of two integers. After the establishment of the theory of real numbers, the discovery of ethereal imaginary numbers was confusing. What is considered impossible in conventional thinking is easily solved by unconventional thinking. Topology is a kind of unconventional thinking. It can change the position of space and make the inside and outside of a confined space communicate, making it impossible to distinguish inside from outside. Just like the Mobius strip, it is impossible to tell which is the front side, which is the reverse side. How can a person enter a sealed room, and how can one then get out of it? With conventional thinking, it is absolutely impossible. But if you think unconventionally, this matter is easy. It is just a different understanding of space. Can people be invisible? Conventional thinking has to say, this is the dreaming of an idiot. It is absolutely impossible. In fact, it is just a temporary distortion of space and time. Mankind has launched many spacecrafts to explore space. There are many purposes for this. Regardless of whether they admit it or not, one of the subconscious purposes is to find out whether there are stars outside the Earth for humans to live on. One side effect of this space exploration is the realization that the Earth's immediate neighbors are not suitable for human habitation, and the farther planets are a few light years or tens of light years away, which humans cannot reach within their limited lifespans. Humanity has only one Earth. This is the pessimistic conclusion obtained by the current exploration of space. Impossible. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. This is the conclusion obtained by conventional thinking. Einstein realized that the speed of light is the limit speed of the movement of matter, but he did not realize that the speed of non-material movement is the negative cosmic speed, and people can instantly reach a planet tens of light years away. Quantum mechanics believes that only one speed and position of a particle can be obtained, and accurate data of both cannot be measured at the same time. This uncertain principle has actually entered conventional thinking. The movement of a particle is disturbed by an infinite number of forces, so it cannot have a constant speed. In addition, the movement path of a particle is affected by other forces, so it cannot have a fixed line, which is why its speed and location cannot be measured at the same time. However, if we have a way to consider all the forces received by the particles and the magnitude and mode of action, then it is not difficult to measure the speed and position of the particles at the same time. Everything in the universe runs in an orderly manner, and particles are no exception. The current problem is that human intelligence has not yet reached the level of understanding all the forces in the universe. Quantum mechanics has entered the frontier zone, but this does not mean that the frontier zone is the marginal area of science, and we can also develop this in depth. Quantum mechanics can only end in the uncertainty principle. The development of science is endless, but the more knowledge humans carry, the slower they will move forward. 100 years ago, if people were able to master all the knowledge mankind accumulated by the age of 20, It is not possible now. Who would dare to say that he has encompassed all the knowledge accumulated by mankind by the age of 30? I am afraid that some people might have become exhausted and powerless before they reached the forefront of science. By extending quantum mechanics to humans, we find that humans are just particles. The gains and losses, misfortunes and blessings, illnesses and lifespans of human beings in the world happen to be within the uncertainty principle. We cannot accurately measure the length of a person's lifespan and his merits, demerits, gains, and losses in one's lifetime. However, all thinking that thinks of impossibilities belongs to conventional thinking. When we know that the universe is orderly and that life has a trajectory, we can analyze the hundreds of millions of factors that affect a person from an inevitable perspective, and we will find several sets of laws that affect life. From these laws, we can accurately measure a person's prosperity, adversity, poverty, lifespan, and fate of his entire life. Newton discovered universal gravitation, which explained a mystery of the universe. While benefiting mankind, at the same time it put a shackle on thinking of mankind. According to universal gravitation, it is impossible for a person to fly freely in the sky without the help of other tools. This has become conventional thinking again. But what people didn't expect is that gravitation is not universal. Gravitation is generated by motion. If the motion is large, the gravitation is large. If the motion is small, the gravitation is small. Where there is no motion, there is no gravitation, and where there is no gravitation, there is no weight. Cannot weightless people fly freely in the sky? Conventional thinking is going to laugh at me again. The Earth is in eternal motion, and people are eternally weighty. When the Earth stops moving, it is the end of life on the Earth. When can people fly freely in the sky? Conventional thinking is really troublesome. It doesn't consider the relationship among thinking, energy, and matter. Fax and email must be true, right? The technology of cloning can't be said to be fabricated, right? Is the fax or email we receive the same as the original? And is the cloned animal similar to the original one? All material things are just a matter of molecular arrangement, order, and structure. If the genetic structure of a pig is arranged in the order of a human genetic structure, then the pig will speak a human language. Could this be false? Then, can't people be faxed? Can't people be cloned? Substances cannot be faxed, but their structure and sequence can be faxed. We can pick up a phone and dial the number of a relative who is thousands of miles away. Although the person is thousands of miles away, the sound you hear is right close to your ears. Is there any doubt about this voice? With negative cosmic speed, a person's life structure and sequence can be faxed to a planet millions of light years away, and then endowed with energy, cloning, a new you will then be born. Since the sequence and structure are the same, your consciousness and memory still exist, consciousness and memory exist in the structure and sequence, and you will still be you, not someone else. Good. Since the Earth can't restrain us, and space distance can't obstruct us, then, can motion restrain us? Let's not talk about absolute motion, but relative motion. On the ComSea, while sitting in a ship's cabin, if we don't look out of the window, can we feel motion? There will be no feeling of motion at all. We are living on the Earth that travels 25 million kilometers a day. Can we feel the Earth moving at high speed? No, we cannot. When two objects of the same mass fly in the same direction and at the same speed, there is, relatively speaking, no motion between them. So there is no gravitational force between them, relatively speaking. In this case, for the small object sandwiched between these two objects, neither motion nor gravitational force is felt. In other words, it loses weight and can now fly freely. Is there such a place in the universe? Yes, there is. Please see the chapter of 36-dimensional spaces. Let's look at the Mobius strip again. When turning a paper with front and back sides into a strip without front and back sides, the key to it is to flip one end of it 180 degrees. This flipping process is the process of unconventional thinking. The flip must be 180 degrees. If it flipped less or more, it will not be the true. It would become a way that is perverse, a perverse theory, and it will bring endless disasters. The unconventional thinking of the Mobius strip is by no means a trick played by magicians. It is a key to understanding the truth. 对立统一是宇宙的表象，不是宇宙的实质。The unity of opposites is the image of the universe, not its essence. Xiefeng. Translated by Yu. Edited by Peter. From the perspective of appearance, the universe embodies its opposition everywhere: truth and falsehoods, good and evil, beauty and ugliness, positive and negative, light and dark, yin and yang, prosperity and adversity, dynamic and static, superior and inferior, noble and lowly, rich and poor, life and death, front and back, big and small, good and bad, etc.